Sure, I'm Jeff Roberts. I'm the Administrator of Elections for Davidson County.
So, how do you feel things are going right now?
Right now, they are going pretty smooth. We have some issues with voters being a little confused that they thought they could go to our early voting sites and vote today like it was early voting, but those sites are just for voters assigned to that location on election day. So we're having to redirect a number of people from Southeast Library, Bordeaux Library, and Bellevue Library.
Was there any outreach done to those people to let them know where they were supposed to vote beforehand?
Sure, every voter in Davidson County was sent a voter registration card back in April. And we've been advertising to, before you go vote today, check the polling place finder and it will tell you what your location is.
Where were you advertising that?
We've advertised it on our social media sites. It's on our webpage. That's, when I do an interview, those kind of things.
Okay. Obviously, there's been some news stories about some of the ballots having the wrong congressional races on them. Can you talk a little bit about how that happened?
Sure. So during the redistricting process, between us and the state, there's a lot of hands involved in redistricting. So the state has a role, Metro Computer System, GIS folks have a role, and we have a role. And between all those parties, we missed a few addresses out there and had them assigned to the wrong location. And as a result, they voted the wrong ballot on election day. And if that's the case, their name is on the list. They can come out to our office and vote a special provisional ballot that will be opened up in the event there's a contested race.
So, can I ask a little bit about how exactly that happened? Because we've heard stories such as people who live in the same apartment being given different ballots. How does that happen?
Well, I can't speak to, without knowing the specific instance, every address, every street is in its own street segment within a district. So depending on where you are on a street segment, that drives where you may be. So if you can think about Old Hickory Boulevard, it traverses lots of Davidson County, so it's in many different districts out there. And we have to make sure that the houses get in the correct district.
Do you think it could have been avoided?
Well, you would think that there's always an opportunity to improve on the process, and after this election, we will be going back, deconstructing the process, and figuring out where it went awry. What can we do to prevent this in the future when we have another redistricting 10 years from now?
There's been a little bit of a finger pointing situation going on. The Secretary of State's office has said that the blame falls with your office and also GIS, which I'm not quite sure what that is. Do you feel like all roads lead back to the Secretary of State's office, or do you feel like they're right to point to you?
At this point in time, until I know exactly what caused the issue, I don't think it's a good idea to start pointing fingers at anyone. We don't really know where it originated. So after the election, we will all sit down, take a look at the process, and figure out what went awry.
Democrats say that the core issue here is the gerrymandering and the efforts to split apart precincts and gain political advantage. Do you think it's fair to point to that as the root cause?
I wouldn't say that's the root cause. If you want to have a root cause, it's the population growth in Davidson County that made Davidson County have to break up. Or we've got 178 precincts now, 178 precincts now in Davidson County. Before redistricting, we had 160. So just the size, whenever we add a new precinct, that means people have to move, lines are redrawn. The state Senate lines were redrawn, state House lines were redrawn, council district lines were redrawn, school board lines were redrawn. So it's pretty much a redo of Davidson County just because of the population growth here.
Are you having people who got the wrong city council and those other races on there, or is it mostly congressional races?
Well,
that were
since for this ballot there are no council races or school board, it's only
There's state houses.
congressional, state house, state senate.
So have there been people who got the wrong state house and state senate races?
Yes, yes. But if you can think from a geographic standpoint, you've only got 3 congressional districts, so you're covering a larger area. So the possibility there means you're going to pick up more people that are included on the list. As you go down from state senate to state house, there will be fewer and fewer people involved just because the areas are shrinking.
So obviously we're in a period where things are a little bit fraught. There's concerns about democracy being undermined, not just here, but at the national level. What do you have to say to people who see this as yet another way that democracy is being undermined and shaking their faith in the way we vote?
You know, I could kind of believe that storyline if we had tried to sweep this problem under the rug. But we took the complete opposite. We tried to be as transparent as possible. As soon as I knew about it, I even started calling press to ask them, you know, do you have questions? Do you need an interview? So we tried to be very transparent to make the voters feel good that, yes, there was an issue here, but we're working to make it right.
So on that note, just as a final thing, you were quoted as saying mistakes happen, and it sounded like initially there wasn't going to be an effort to fix it, and then eventually there was a lawsuit, and now there is an effort to fix it. Is that not what happened?
No. As soon as we knew that there was an issue, we started doing the research to figure out, you know, how big is it, who's impacted, what do we need to do to try to correct it. Because even if it was the lawsuit addressed just those people that voted during early voting, we still had a large portion of the voting population that was going to vote on election day. So what are we going to do to make sure they don't have the same problem that those voters had during early voting? And that was a very big task.
Did this happen in the primary?
It's likely that it was out there, but I don't recall anyone bringing it to our attention that, hey, I've got the wrong ballot.
Gotcha. Okay. And just as a final thing, this is not about Davidson County. In Murray County, we just saw pictures of a voting precinct that's at a Catholic church where there's like a cemetery outside for aborted babies. Are you allowed to have like blatantly partisan messaging on voting precincts?
It has to be state law in Tennessee, 100 feet outside the entrance to the voting area.
But you
So
can.
outside that, you can do whatever you want to do. Our only authority extends out to the 100-foot boundary.